I am pleased to announce that Cabinet yesterday approved terms for a development and concession agreement between the Cayman Islands government and Ironwood Cayman Limited. This agreement is intended to facilitate the construction, development, and operation of what will be known as Ironwood Village, located off Frank Sound Road. Just by way of overview, the development will be constructed in phases and include a PGA Championship golf course and resort designed by none other than golfing legend Arnold Palmer, who I had the privilege of welcoming to Cayman previously, as some of you may remember. Incidentally, I've been informed that this course will be the first of its kind in the Caribbean. The development will be similar to the Arnold Palmer Design Company's world-class property in Bay Hill, Florida, and includes a town center, beach club, luxury hotel accommodations, water sport facilities, and other amenities. Mr. David Moffett of Ironwood Cayman and Mr. Roy Saunders, Vice President of Operations of the Arnold Palmer Design Company Limited, will provide you with further details on the proposed development in a few moments. But for now, let me say that the government sees this project as one that will significantly reinforce the appeal of the Cayman Islands as a world-class tourist destination. As you are aware, the government has been in negotiations with the Ironwood Group for the construction of a 10-mile extension of the east-west arterial for some time. These negotiations have proven to be extremely intense and challenging, but the government remains committed to working towards concluding an arrangement with the developer and ensuring that the terms of any such agreement will be in the best interest of the country and the people of these islands. Notwithstanding the delays in finalizing an agreement for the construction of the road, government and Ironwood have agreed that Ironwood will bring forward its plans for commencement of the development project itself. This will inevitably provide a much-needed financial stimulus to the economy of the Cayman Islands and result in the creation of valuable job opportunities for Caymanians and further needed development in the eastern districts. This development and concession agreement will provide Ironwood with duty waivers and concessions on planning application fees, import duties, and charges payable on materials and equipment imported by Ironwood for the development, as well as on stamp duty payable on any land acquired for the development after the date of signing this agreement, up to a maximum concession value of 6%, or a maximum of US $21.9 million. The maximum waiver amount is based on Ironwood's estimated project development costs of US $365 million. All duties and fees will be paid initially by the developer, with government refunding qualifying duties and fees in the form of an annual rebate once the developer has submitted its annual claim backed by satisfactory audited year-end accounts. As many of you know, government historically has entered into development concession agreements to incentivize development of specific major tourism-related private sector capital projects such as the Kimpton Hotel and Beach Bay Hotel and Resort. The most recent concessions were given to help Beach Bay develop and included duty waivers on construction materials and furniture and fixtures for the construction of the development and stamp duty for land purchase for the development. In that case, government will be giving up potential income of about $25 million to help ensure that project gets built. But I must remind everyone that the income we receive for decades into the future from hotel room tax, visitor spend, duty from the sales of condos and more from all of these developments will more than make up for the concessions. And the jobs that will be created directly and indirectly from these projects will be an added economic benefit. Both government and Ironwood remain dedicated to the construction of the road extension, so this agreement allows for a further maximum period of 12 months to conclude negotiations and obtain all appropriate consents, including that required by the Foreign and Commonwealth Office in accordance with government's obligations under the framework for fiscal responsibility. If, as we all hope, negotiations for the road construction are successfully concluded within the 12-month time frame, then the concessions granted under this agreement will at that point in time be applied against certain financial guarantees that will be required to be provided by the developer as part of the road agreement. In the event that the negotiations for the road construction are not brought to a satisfactory conclusion within that one-year period, then Ironwood will continue to have the benefit of the concessions provided under this agreement for a maximum period of 8 years from the date of signing. In keeping with this government's firm commitment to the creation of employment opportunities for Caymanians, the agreement requires Ironwood, its contractors and subcontractors to work with the Cayman Islands Further Education Center and the National Workforce Development Agency, and to endeavor to meet certain substantial hiring targets of Caymanians that we set in Cabinet. Ironwood will also be required to provide regular reports on its recruitment of Caymanians during the course of the development. In short, this government sees this deal as a win-win for the country and the people of these islands. Before I ask Dave Moffett to make some observations as well, I just want to say publicly how pleased I am with the tremendous amount of work that has gone into getting us where we are by the ministry and by the ministry team, the ministry led by the Honorable Kurt Tibbetts, and how delighted I am that we have gotten to this point, and that as it became clear that the discussions about the road construction were going to take some more time, that Mr. Palmer and his group, led by Mr. Saunders, have been prepared to, as they say, put their money where their mouth is and demonstrate their commitment to seeing this project through, the road construction notwithstanding. Dave.
Thank you, Honorable Premier. I want to echo Premier's comments that this has been a long journey, and that I get to sit next to the minister that has given us such a hard time. But it's a unique project, a unique deal, and it's I think a new direction for Cayman from having an active adult community along with a world-class golf community to go along with. The negotiations with the Foreign Commonwealth Office of that part of it, we've been able to reach an agreement to where we can move forward while that is still being worked out, and that allows us to take matters into our own hands, being CIG and Ironwood, to move the project forward while we're waiting for that approval for the road. So the only other thing I would say that the government, civil service, everyone has worked tirelessly, and the only reason I think that we were able to get to this point is everyone being committed to the deal and the great team that we've assembled. We're just the conductor in this, bringing the right partners together with Arnold Palmer Group, the LF, and Wharton Smith. We've got a great team assembled to carry this project out, and I just want to say thank you to everyone involved in reaching this milestone. I'd turn it over to Roy to just give a little brief of Palmer's involvement.
Thank you, David. First of all, it's an honor to be here, Premier and Honor Minister Tibbetts. It's great to be here, and just to let you know, we're 100% committed to this project with David. He's got a fantastic team put together, and we're really looking forward to the East-West Corridor getting going and launching the Ironwood development. It's going to be a very exciting project. As Premier said, this is our first Caribbean golf course, and we're really looking forward to seeing that come to life and having that first ball fly off the first tee. To me, that's when it all happens, and to be part of a development that's this exciting and means so much to the island and the residents of Cayman it's really a cool thing. So we're just honored to be here, and thank David and his team for all the efforts they've put in here, and and you folks for working with him for so long to see this come to this point. Very excited.
Before I ask the Cabinet Secretary to come forward so that we can actually formally execute the agreement with Ironwood, I would just ask Councillor Hugh, who is sitting in on behalf of the Minister of Tourism and Deputy Premier Moses Kekana, if he would like to offer a few words, but from their perspective, that is the Ministry of Tourism, what they think this actually means for Cayman's tourism product.
Thank you, Premier. We are extremely excited about the signing here today. We feel that this is certainly one of the greatest steps in the direction towards furthering our tourism product that we've had since the opening of the Ritz-Carlton. As we continue to progress, we're developing the airport. Looking forward, as a country and as a destination, we have to continue to evolve to become the sophisticated destination that we're developing a reputation for. And if we're going to attract conferences, large conferences, sports tourism, then we have to have the facilities and the world-class facilities to go along with it. We could not have found a better partner than the Palmer Group to place a flagship golf course, 18-hole golf course here in the Cayman Islands. This will certainly put us on the map as a destination of choice for leisure, sports tourism, and conferences.
Thank you, Councillor Hugh. Cabinet Secretary, if you could come now, and we'll execute the agreement and then we'll take questions. Use my seat? Yeah, that'd be a good idea. Pay special tribute to the legal team, the ministry team led by Alan Jones and the legal team led by Ms. Reshma Sharma for the tremendous work they've done, and apologize for the pressure we put them under all the time to get these things done in time. I'll leave thanking the legal team for Ironwood to David, but I also acknowledge the tremendous amount of work that they've done as well. So, questions, please. Well, the issue really isn't with the FCO at this stage because we haven't gotten there. The issue is with us, really, with the terms of what we are prepared to agree. Speaking very frankly, we are seeking to limit government exposure with respect to the in the event there was to be non-performance or lack of completion of the road. It is a complex financial arrangement that is being put in place with respect to how this will be funded. And ultimately, the road will be paid for by the duties and import duties and stamp duty and so forth generated as a result of the project. And we've always sought, and it's not a secret at all, to limit government's exposure, because we have to make sure that at this stage and where we are in terms of restoring government finances, that we don't go out on a limb which requires the government to fund the construction of the road ultimately from current revenue streams. The whole premise of the exercise has been, of this plan has been that the cost of the road would be funded from new revenue generated from the project itself. So that is taking some little time. We believe we've made significant progress in the last week. Some of the other players, particularly from GLF, have been down and had further discussions. And I think we are more optimistic now than we've ever been that we will see this deal concluded within a relatively short period of time. The 12-month that we have provided for in the contract is out of an abundance of caution to make sure that we do get it done. It's been 2 years since we've started, so I think we have every reason to be cautious about being too optimistic about when it's actually concluded. Dave will have to answer the other question.
Yes, as far as the deal breaker, the intent of Ironwood, we cannot do what we want to do without the road being there. And it's not that we're changing tack from saying we have to have the road. We have to have the road. What we've gotten to at this point is we have the comfort level with having the funding already in place for the road, the GLF as our contractor for that the negotiations are to the point to where we can go ahead and move forward with the beginning of Ironwood and with the construction being able to start. The road, whether from our construction planning, if it's a year delayed, is not a deal breaker. So what we're looking at, the road ultimately will be there. It was planned from before Ironwood came along, and what we're accomplishing with this complex deal is a way that government gets the road much earlier than they would otherwise. So that's our focus is on that the pieces are in place, and we've been able to reach a negotiating stage thanks to our legal team, Anthony and Vaughn, that we're able to move forward and step out to take, I guess the best way to put it was we're taking the control out of someone else's hands and putting it in our own between CIG and Ironwood, so we can move forward with the confidence that the road will be there in short order.
I think one of the things that, forgive me, Dave, but I think one of the things that we need to put in perspective is the fact that when you approached the government regarding the road, at that time the Palmer Group was not in the picture.
Correct.
So that's why it was more of a deal breaker at that point in time. The signature golf course that Councillor Hughes spoke about and Mr. Saunders spoke about puts a whole new dimension to the project itself. And I think that perhaps is also one of the big reasons why we could get the project started before the road got started.
Correct.
Questions finished, Premier?
So, are you going to go ahead and start work on this golf course then without the road deal being agreed? I mean,
Yeah.
start building the thing?
Yes, the structure we have, what we signed today, it gives us a backstop if for some reason road is delayed, that we have the protection from the concession standpoint to go ahead and start. So that's kind of a backstop agreement that gives us the confidence to go forward.
The concessions essentially go into a sort of fund that will pay for the road ultimately.
Precisely.
But there's still, as I understand it, a small chance that the road does not get agreed. So are you taking a gamble here that you risk putting some money into this and then you don't get what you want?
The long and short of it, not to get in legal terms, but if the road isn't approved within the year, the $22 million come back to Ironwood. That's the concession agreement we have, so that we would have a concession package in place of the road.
Can you explain that?
Yes. We had a long night last night. Yeah.
How it is structured. The agreement will allow for the first phase of the project, which is estimated to be at a value of $365 million US dollars. And the government has just agreed, by way of the Cabinet Secretary's signature and Dave Moffat's signature, to give certain concessions up to a value of 6% of that $365 million, which equates to 21.9 million US dollars. During the 12-month period, which is the window to get the agreement signed for the road construction, whatever concessions will become due to Ironwood Cayman Limited will be held in escrow by the government. Whatever the value of that is will be held in escrow by the government. Once the road agreement is agreed on, then what is being held in escrow at that time will go towards the payment of the road. Should that agreement not be able to be completed within the 12-month period, then the 6% concessions up to a value of US $365 million worth of development will go straight directly to Ironwood Cayman Limited, and they will reap those benefits simply because the road will not be in play at that point in time. I don't want to stick my neck out too far, and I'm certainly not suggesting that we will have an agreement by tomorrow. But I believe that it is not only possible, but very likely that we will be able to get this agreement at least by the middle of the coming calendar year. But the idea was, and I think Roy Saunders can comment on this, I believe the Palmer Group is quite anxious to get the project going. So rather than wait this whole thing out until the road agreement gets finalized, I think in order to get the other side of it going, because the Palmer Group is confident that the product will be a good product, and that while the road being built is integral, they're confident too that we will get the whole thing sorted, that by the time they're ahead with going on with construction, we can get the road started. But the golf course and the golf community, should I say, presents a whole new perspective, in my view, to when it was more the town center being planned initially, which is what made it so dependent on the road. I think the whole project is now less dependent on the road. So while everybody's taking a certain level of risk, I believe it is because everyone who knows what is happening with the project is confident that we can get there in a timely fashion.
Is the Palmer Group one of the developers here, or have they been hired by Ironwood for the golf aspect of it?
We're partnering with, if you will, David Moffat and his team.
That's right.
To develop the golf course and work with David's team to develop the entire club. You look at the entire infrastructure of the project, from roads to golf course to the east-west quarter. All of it, to me, is the infrastructure of the entire project. And it's great to hear where we are today, but also knowing that we're now in a position to see this, come to fruition. I know we're all ready to go, so Mr. Tibbetts will be looking for some permits as soon as you can.
Perhaps this is a good time to let everybody know what kind of timing you all might have in mind.
Well, our timing is largely based upon being able to start construction. And once we
Thank
get
you very
that,
much for putting the pressure on us.
okay, ball in your court. But once that happens, we've got a great team assembled. You know, David's got a wonderful team with GLF and Wharton Smith and all of this. So, and then our side of the equation, if you will, the Arnold Palmer Group, the design company, and the Arnold Palmer Properties Company. We do the operations and management of the facility, and our design team will work with David's team to do the overall infrastructure development of the golf course, all tying together. Very important that it all works together, because I think the timing of an opening is something we're all looking forward to, because there's, you know, that's ultimately that's where we all want to be, is to have it open. And that means the club, the lodge, the golf course, the practice facility, all of those things.
Yeah, and one of the aspect that Palmer Group brings to the table, we hit them at the right time as well. They're on an expansion program to have 20 resorts similar to Bay Hill around the world in 10 years, I believe.
Yep.
And it's not that they're coming in, designing a course and leaving. They'll be here operating for long term, and also these other projects that they're putting together. They've got, I'll let you say which ones you have, but you got 4 or 5 of them now on the table, I believe.
Right, we have 4 on the boards at this moment. Cayman is right there on the top of the list with us. We have one up in Connecticut, one in the process in North Carolina, and then also one in Scotland. So we are global. Mr. Palmer is my father-in-law, so instead of calling him Arnold Palmer, I just can't call him anything other than Mr. Palmer. So he's fully behind this project. Loves Cayman. I hope to bring him back soon, so we have a ribbon cutting or a
Groundbreaking.
stick the shovel in the ground ceremony and have him here for that. So
You're the management company, though, as opposed to an investor in this, right?
say it again, please.
You're the management company as opposed to an investor, right? Is that
We
is that-
are
Yeah.
we're a management company, and obviously I think the Arnold Palmer brand carries a significant becomes an asset to the community. I think that having a Arnold Palmer's Cayman Club and Lodge, and our management team and with the great group he's done, it's just going to be a first-class development, and I think one that all the folks on Cayman should be proud of.
I see your wheels spinning. The correct way to answer that. I see what? I see the wheels spinning, I said. And the correct way to answer that is that the Arnold Palmer Group and their associates will bring equity investment to the project to ensure that it happens.
Correct.
You're doing your homework.
I think the legal term is it's a joint venture.
Okay. Just one more quick one on the road. 22 million was what you were talking about in terms of concessions, right? Over the first phase of the project.
Maximum
Maximum of
Yeah.
22 million.
US.
6% of the 365 million.
And I think the
Estimated,
road
projected.
was quoted
cost.
at a cost of something between 50 and 60 million. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. So where does
$365 million is not the total project. That's the first phase of the project.
1.1.
Okay, but the time frame for that would be quite significant, correct?
Well, it's a 15-year build. Sorry, David. It's a 15-year build-out, as I understand the plans to be from the developers. And I think it is expected that the road project will be paid over a 20-year period.
Okay.
Okay?
So the money for the road, will it amount to the full total cost of the road from this concession?
It was never expected that the actual duties and all of that from the project itself would fully pay for the road. It is expected that some of the indirect revenues will assist during the payout period. That was always the case.
So
In other words, if they build condominiums or homes or whatever and sell, and it's a new revenue stream coming in, and you get stamp duties from transfer of those, that will be counted towards paying for the road.
Yeah, to speak a little more to that, your point about the 365, what we're intending in the first 5 years is to develop 365 worth of development. The overall project, we've had valuation done that is just right around 1.1 billion would be the total development value. So what the minister is saying that over time all those things kick in, but you can't guarantee that up front. So that's where the portion of getting this agreement worked out that the FCO signs off on, that the revenue generated by Ironwood will be more enough to pay for the road, but it can't be guaranteed, so that's why the structure is done the way it is.
Thank you. Good morning, gentlemen. Reshma Raghunath, Cayman reporter. Mr. Saunders, you talked about getting the program started and you're excited to have a sod turning. Do you have a projected time frame that you want to actually start construction?
Well, all part of the process is, as I said, getting the permitting and so forth, but we're already actively working from the design standpoint on the golf course, and once you get that and you can literally break ground, I would imagine that you're probably looking at a period between a 12-month and a 24-month period, and if everything can really hit the ground rolling, to get all the infrastructure in place to where you can open it at, have an opening that's, appropriate. You have, really, I look at it as one time to make a great first impression, and I don't think you really want to open until you're ready to open. But our goal is to hit the ground running.
Were you asking when they might start construction? I think.
How about April?
Thank you. How about April?
16.
I think, just so that we understand very clearly, and please correct me where I may not be totally correct. My understanding in talking to the group is that the plans are well in advance by way of the design. They have to get final construction drawings done. They have to make their application through the planning department to the Central Planning Authority for approval. They have to go through that process. We are doing our best to gear up to be able to accommodate such applications through the department and on through to the CPA by way of following what the legal requirements are. And as I also understand it, that it is very possible within the first quarter of next calendar year for them to begin to bring applications in to be processed. And as soon as we can get through that, what they're saying is they're ready to start as soon as they can get a red card.
I have a further question, but not related to the actual construction, but more in terms of employment. The Premier talked about employment and certain specifications set down in the agreement. Can you give us a figure of projected employment?
Well, what we have in this initial agreement, which will also be included in the road construction agreement, is a target of 60% Caymanian employment, not only during the construction phase of the development, but also during its continued life operationally. That's where the target is. Well, I don't know how many people they're going to hire. I'm not being rude, so I don't know. I'm not being rude, but we just don't know exactly. You see, I at this point in time, I don't think we have gotten to the point where anyone can truthfully say at any one point in time how many bodies will be on the job site, because of course they can't do everything one time and everything has to be staged. I don't know those figures. That's why we used percentages. But I mean, there's a commitment there, and that is why you heard Premier mention the National Workforce Development Agency, and what's the other one again?
Cayman Islands Further Education Center.
The Further Education Center, meaning that it can be monitored. And I don't think for a minute that we will have any difficulty, because in all of our discussions, we have continually gotten the commitment of utilizing Caymanian labor wherever possible. But you formalize it to make sure that they don't wake up one morning and forget.
And I would say to add to that, to the analogy of trying to push a string instead of pulling a string, and I think our vision is we're creating a new concept in Cayman. The financial sector is very important to Cayman, but it's not bricks and mortar. Where this type of development is a bricks and mortar project that'll create quite a few service jobs, and with the baby boomers that are retiring in droves in the U.S., we have affluent baby boomers that we're targeting for retirement here, and they're not looking to take jobs. They will be creating jobs for the service industries and everything that goes along with it. So the volume that we're talking, we need all the employment that we can get. So we're not opposed to trying to keep everything Caymanian if we can.
Ben Mead, Cayman Weekly. Minister Tibbetts or Premier McLaughlin, with regards to infrastructure developments like roads, is this the model we can look forward to where government would piggyback on a development, the partnership with the private sector to get these major infrastructural projects going forward? We see in the past month 2 road expansions being spoken about, being partnered in this manner with private developers.
Well, the minister, I'm sure, wants to say something about this.
You go right ahead, Premier.
But the reality is, wherever we see the opportunity,
That's right.
we will seize it to get the infrastructure that Cayman needs. Even with the FFR constraints, being eased as we get out from under the oversight of the UK at the end of this fiscal year, there are still some realities that we have to face. And that is, how do we fund major capital projects which are so critical to Cayman's continued development without having to borrow huge sums of money? And one of the targets of this administration is to significantly pay down government debt, and we have committed to not take on any debt during the course of this term. So when you have that sort of underlying policy, you do have to look for innovative ways to get the infrastructure that you need. And the recent arrangement that we've come to with the DART group is an example. This one, of course, predates that, although we haven't gotten to the signing of that aspect of it yet. But yes, I see Cayman, regardless of who's at the helm, having to go down this road if we are to get the kind of capital projects developed that we need. Another one that is looming will be, of course, the arrangements with what we do about waste. That's going to be another major capital or set of capital projects that I don't see government being able to fund from its own resources or necessarily from borrowing. I probably should have opened that door, but I did.
I'm glad you did. I had a comment to that. One unique part of our project, our partner Wharton Smith, they're very heavy in infrastructure, and we will be having all the treatment waste will be reused on the golf course. So everything, we're not doing deep wells into the aquifer. Everything will be captured and reused, treated and reused on the golf course. So that's a strong part of the environment that we're trying to
You'll be making
bring
gray
forward.
water.
Yeah.
You'll be making gray water.
Yeah.
Good. But you will be hooked up to the Water Authority's pipeline.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
2-inch line.
Any more questions? Well, if not, thank you all very much for coming on such short notice. But we do believe this is good news that we know you would want to get out there. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful Christmas and New Year.